Ever since childhood, I've always been accused of being too quiet, too soft, and too shy. My accusers were right. And I say the word accused because it always hurts to some extent. I've been bullied, overlooked, and I've lost a few friendships due to this perceived weakness. When you find yourself in a situation like this, the tendency is to give up and to live life under the covers. Moving on from childhood into adulthood. And during job interviews, when asked that infamous "what is your weakness" question, I've always had to confess that my weakness is that I'm quiet. And sure enough, during performance reviews, my bosses would write, "Kemi is very quiet, but she gets her work done." This was further confirmation to me that my quietness, was some sort of weakness. A lot of people have labels placed on them that hold them back and keep them from living life to the fullest, even to the point of being depressed or taking their lives. I had considered the latter a few times. People will tell me, "You're quiet to a fault, that is why this happened to you." Or I would attend meetings where I didn't say anything, and I would hate myself afterwards. I questioned many times, "God, why did you make me this way?" At this point, the label of quietness as a weakness stuck with me. Whenever I would hear about someone taking their life, I would tell myself, I don't blame them. I could sort of relate. Because when you have a weakness that you almost can't do anything about, or you're labeled a certain way, too fat, too ugly, not good enough, not smart enough, or you feel different than everyone else, you almost want the ground to swallow you up. I've wanted the ground to swallow me up a few times. I wished that I was different, more forceful, more talkative. I wondered what I was doing on earth and if I could ever amount to anything. But something kept me going. I remember not too many years ago, I had Googled the phrase "quiet people," just to see if there was any solution to this problem that I was having, and I came up with nothing. And then, in 2012, Susan Cain wrote a book called Quiet, and a lot of quiet people started coming out of the woodwork. I then realized that I wasn't alone, and that there were others who also experienced the same internal struggles that I had. One review of the book actually states, "After reading this book, I now realize this is how God made me. In many respects, this book has helped to remedy some of those mental conflicts I have experienced over the years as an introvert. Now, I have to learn not to let my introversion, which can border on shyness, prevent me from learning new things, particularly as I enter into the last third of my life." Just like this reviewer, I also came to the realization that I wasn't alone, and that realization that I didn't have to let my introversion hold me back or have a negative effect in my life any longer. I began to see myself through a different lens. I found that the things that excited me were outside of my normal way of life and different from what others expected of me. It took me many years to realize that as that shy kid, I actually did some exciting things. I wrote for a local newspaper, which was run by my dad, which is still run by my dad, actually. And I started a school as an 11-year-old, and I invited other kids to attend, and I taught them what I knew. We even had a graduation ceremony with the parents attending. I should have known then that I had a gift and a passion for writing and for teaching others what I knew. But I ended up becoming an engineer, an introverted engineer. I strongly believe that when you do what you're passionate about, everything changes. And beyond that passion is impact. When you discover and live your passion, and you're beginning to make an impact, then you have something to live for. Studies have shown that when people help others, they're happier. So impact trumps whatever shortcomings or struggles you may have. What helped me to experience this shift is self-knowledge. I started to become aware of the things that I really loved and that I was good at, and I embraced them fully. Today, My old classmates and colleagues often remark how surprised they are to see me speaking, holding the mic in church to sing, or how they cannot envision me in sales. I usually don't believe it myself. Was I the one who just led 100 people in praise and worship? I remember one day at a church event, I had led the songs, and an old family friend who I knew growing up in Nigeria was in the congregation. She came up to me afterwards and told me how she could not believe that I was the one who just performed the way I just did. The perception is that introverted and shy people cannot do much or achieve much, especially when they do something that's extroverted in nature. And some introverted and shy people believe this about themselves also. A lot of people label themselves or have labels placed on them by other people that hold them back and cause them to give up on life. Maybe because they're bullied or they continue to experience embarrassing situations. I believe that the reason they give up is not because they were bullied, but because they haven't discovered what they're living for. When I rediscovered my passion and embraced this weakness, it led me to realize that I was here for a purpose. Because, you see, sitting behind that desk as an engineer, in my heart, I felt like I wasn't making a difference. Life wasn't fulfilling, and my introversion became magnified. But the things that I did on the side and after work made me feel fulfilled, made me feel like an extrovert, and made life worth living. I knew myself well enough to create opportunities that were challenging, yet natural. I eventually turned my side passion into my main hustle. And now, I'm beginning to do things that I never thought were possible. And that shy and introverted engineer still works with engineers today, but in a different capacity. I started my own leadership development training and coaching company to help professionals, organizations, and businesses improve their leadership and to help them reach their full potential. And yes, I'm still quiet, I'm still shy, and I'm still an introvert. But I don't see these as weaknesses any longer. And when someone reminds me that I'm too quiet, or I experience an awkward situation in which I don't say much and somebody points it out, I embrace the power of now, and I hit the reset button. One of my favorite quotes by John Maxwell, which I always hear him say, is this: "Yesterday ended last night." And I take it a step further, and I say that bad situation ended a second ago. That is how I press on. I forget those awkward situations, and I remember that I'm good at certain things, that I'm here for a purpose, and that's what really matters. I've discovered how I show up and how I make a difference in other people's lives. A lot of introverts tend to compare themselves with their extroverted counterparts. I've compared myself with other extroverts and always thought that they were better than I was, and I always wished that I was like them. And I still do, actually. But I remind myself that this is how I show up, and I accept it. My conversations don't have to be an hour long as I get my point across. I don't have to speak up all the time in meetings, as long as what needs to be said by everyone has been said. And I can lead by being an example instead of harping on others. I actually still yell at my kids, though. So we need to begin to teach children at a young age the value of embracing how they're wired. Because once you start telling kids you're too quiet, or really too anything, they begin to hold back and think that there is something wrong with them. They feel bullied, and they may end up hating themselves. As a result, their true gifts don't come out, and they may end up not becoming successful or living a fulfilled life. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the highest level of human need is to have a sense of purpose, which he calls self-actualization, and very few people attain this level of self-actualization because they're focused inward on their weakness and not outward. This is where, as individuals, life is no longer about you, but about others. And for organizations, This is where true success is experienced because they have purposeful and passionate employees. I was drawn to this post on the Humans of New York Facebook page. This young man says, "I want to be an engineer because you get to mess around with technology and help people. But first, I need to get better at long division. One thing I would like to do is to make cheaper prosthetics for people in the Army. One day, I was bored, and I Googled them and saw that they would cost $3,500. Maybe I can make them the same way, but with recycled materials." So this young man loves to mess with technology, and he wants to help other people. That is why he wants to become an engineer. This is someone who I believe will find true success and experience a high level of fulfillment because he's starting with purpose and with passion. Because when purpose and passion collide, there is no telling what you can accomplish or achieve. This is where true potential is unleashed, and when unleashed, provides a sense of purpose. And this is when the labels, the weaknesses, the shortcomings, and the struggles don't matter any longer. So no matter how introverted you are, or whatever label has been placed on you, or whether you're an extrovert for that matter, there is something inside of you that needs to be unleashed, and when unleashed, provides a sense of purpose. What you need to do is to embrace how you're wired, discover your purpose, and make your impact. And when you're walking in purpose, you can throw off the covers, you can take off the labels, and you can live a very fulfilling and significant life. Thank you.